G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. This is actually the 7th video in the ArcGIS Enterprise deployment series. So if you'd like to catch up to where we are now, have a look at the playlist in the description. But otherwise, what we're going to be doing in this one is we're going to be setting up the Data Store virtual machine and then installing Data Store and hooking it up to our existing ArcGIS server. Alright, so if you're joining the channel or finding this video for the first time, it's all good. You'll be able to learn how to do the Data Store bit in an ArcGIS Enterprise deployment. But so far we've already set up ArcGIS Server and we've already set up ArcGIS Portal as well. They're not federated yet, but they have been fully configured with the web adapter and an SSL certificate. So make sure you're at that point first before you continue on to the Data Store setup. Alright, let's get straight into it. Okay, so in Azure now we can see we've got AGP set up, so ArcGIS Portal, ArcGIS Server, and we've got them both running via their domain name through the web adapter on IIS. So they're both running here. We're going to go back to Azure over here and then set up a new virtual machine. So we'll go virtual machines, and we're going to go create a virtual machine. Going to put it in the same resource group as ArcGIS Server and Portal, and we're going to call this one AGD for ArcGIS Data Store. I'll leave it in the same region, same zone. Yep, data. So this is the one we want. So for the image, this might be different on your end, so make sure you change it to the Data Center Edition of Windows Server. We've been running with this 2 CPU and 16 gig setup for the other machines, so that's all good. And then I usually just, and this is going to be your admin account, right? The actual user account that you're going to do the installation on. So make sure you remember this one. That's what we're going to use to log in the machine. For Data Store, we're going to need RDP, but we don't need HTTP and HTTPS for it, so we're going to leave it that one. We're going to solve this issue later. So we go to disks, and this has been fine for us, so 127 gig. If you wanted to have a bigger disk or a more scalable solution for this, you know, put in an extra disk or put in a bigger disk. And then you can run a D drive or something and run it off there. But for us, for this use case, I think we're just going to go with 127. That's all good. Have a look at networking. All right, so this is going to be on the same virtual network. So make sure we're on the ArcGIS Enterprise VNet. And for the subnet, we want to make sure it's on the same subnet. So my other servers are on ArcGIS Enterprise and then default subnet. So if you have a look at this, make sure they're all on the same VNet. That'll just allow them all to communicate to each other, which is something to be aware of. And the rest of this should be all good. We go to management, monitoring, and yeah, I think we're all good. So we'll go review and create. There you go, and then Azure is going to summarize everything for us. This looks all good, so we'll hit create, and we'll just let this virtual machine get created. Alright, so while Azure is deploying this, I just want to say, if you've been following along, we went and installed the software on the machine, so say ArcGIS Server, then we installed web adapter on the machine and did all this other stuff to get all that stuff working. For Data Store, we're not really going to need to do all of that. We actually can just install Data Store. We're going to have to open a couple of different ports for it, but yeah, we don't need to hook it up through HTTP and HTTPS, so it's going to be a little bit quicker of a process. Alright, so I'll cut back once Azure has finished setting up our new machine. Okay, and Azure has finished setting up our server now, so we'll go to resource, and we'll go fix that network issue. So we go to network settings, and see RDP's got this little exclamation mark, so we'll go into that. And right now it's allowing anyone access to it, so we'll just change this to just my IP address. And then hit save. Okay, and then that gets rid of that because now only my IP address can connect to this machine. So now we can connect to the machine, so we'll go to connect and download the RDP file, hit open and connect. All right, and then we're going to connect with our account that we set up as the admin account for the machine. So we hit yes on that, and we'll start the machine. Okay, and then once you get to this screen, diagnostics data, let's just do required only. And Windows should start up the server manager, but we don't need to do anything in here, so we're just going to close this straight away. Data Store needs a couple of ports opened, and I'll show you what they are here. There's a couple of more than compared to server and portal. So, alright, so we'll go over here and type in firewall, fire. Okay, we want Windows Defender Firewall with advanced security. And under inbound rules, we're going to add a new rule. It's going to be a port rule. Go next, leave that on TCP, and the specific ones you want are these guys here. So 2443, 9876, and then this range here. So this is the main one, and then it needs these other ones as well to finish, like tile cache and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to hit next. You go allow connection over here, and we call this ArcGIS Data Store. And we hit finish on that. You can have a look. Oops. You can have a look at the Esri documentation as well for the Data Store ports. I'll put it in the description. If your setup is a little bit more complex than just a normal base deployment, you probably just want to check that as well. So, but for a base deployment, those are the ones that we're going to need. Okay, so next step is we're going to go into My Esri website and then download the Data Store software and then run the installation. Okay, so Microsoft Edge, probably be a few things to click on here. Okay, start browsing. We're going to search for My Esri in Bing, and then it's usually the first one, so we'll just log into that. Yep, accept all the cookies. Alright, once you're on this page, we're going to go to Downloads and then ArcGIS Enterprise Windows. And we're going to scroll down, and we only need Data Store here, so we'll just hit download on that guy. Alright, it's finished downloading. Let's go to that folder. I think we can close the browser as well. And there's our install file there. I usually like to move this into a software folder if you've seen my other videos. So we're going to go over here, call it software, and then just paste the install here. And we're going to double click on it to run the file extraction. Alright, so okay, so I normally like to put it in that software folder, so we're going to put it in C drive software and then ArcGIS 11.5, so we'll hit next. Alright, and I'll just cut back once this has finished extracting and we'll run the wizard. Okay, so the files have finished extracting. We can leave this ticked on to run the installation wizard. Okay, here's the installation wizards. We'll go next on that, accept the agreement. And if you're doing anything like running spatio-temporal, you can have that turned on as well, but we're just going to go with the defaults. All right, and here is where you would set up maybe your domain join service account or something. In my case, I've just been using the local default ArcGIS user account. So we're just going to continue on with that. Like if your IT services have made a service account for you to run all this software on, definitely recommend doing that and using that account. But we're just going to go with the standard default one. Next, all right, so here you can set up if you want to export the configuration file. It's probably a good idea to do it, but in my case, I'm just going to skip that one and then we'll just run the installation. Okay, and similar with ArcGIS Server and Portal, this is going to take a while, so I'll cut back once this installation is finished running, and we'll continue on from there. All right, so it's finished installing now. It didn't take as long as Server or Portal, but it still took a little while. So we'll hit Finish. And you see how it runs on 2443 here? And it's just on localhost, so that's all good. So we hit Continue. All right, and then this is the local server name of ArcGIS Server. So we're going to go ArcGIS, and then the ArcGIS Server administrator account. So hopefully you remember that one. Let's go in here. So yeah, so for us, if you've been following the series, we've set it up as administrator and then just your login. And then the server name that we set up was ArcGIS. So this is the fully qualified domain name. It's not domain joined, but these machines can communicate to each other because they're both on the same subnet. So our ArcGIS Server environment machine is actually just called ArcGIS. So we'll hit next. And then here we can choose the content directory for Data Store. So what Data Store does, right, is it allows you to set up a relational data store for like hosted feature layers and that sort of thing from Portal, so that users can put data and then have it work through ArcGIS Server, right? So this is basically where it's going to be stored. So I'm just going to leave this as default. You can set this to D drive or whatever you want if you have that set up. So we'll hit next. It's going to be the relational data store. We've only got the one machine, so we'll go single machine. We'll hit next on that. And you can see it's sort of picked out how it's going to connect to ArcGIS Server. We've already opened this port on ArcGIS Server here, but just make sure this port is definitely open and ready for your data store to connect to once you got to this stage. If you haven't been following the video series. So we'll hit finish. And yeah, with a bit of luck, this will finish configuring, but I'll cut back the video once this has reached the next screen. Okay, that's finally finished configuring. And if we have done everything correctly, you should also be on this screen. So the following components: ArcGIS Data Store configured with ArcGIS Server sites, and it's a relational data store. So well done. Now we just need to validate that this is actually working. So we're going to get out of the machine, go into the ArcGIS Server Manager, and then just check that the data store is now showing up in there. So back on the machine, we'll just shrink this one to get out of the machine, and we go to ArcGIS Server Manager here. So it should be something like this for you as well. Obviously your domain is going to be different. And then log in with the administrator account. And then we're just going to go into your site, data stores, and then there we go. We can see our new data store has been added. Now we just want to validate it. We've only got the one, so you can go validate all, but we'll select and validate. And now with a little bit of luck, this will validate and it'll be all good. And that's exactly what we want to see, just that little green tick, just to show that it's working and we can actually start using it as a relational data store. So that actually concludes our data store setup and installation. Fairly painless one. If you're installing anything else like Notebook Server, GeoEvent, they all sort of follow a similar pattern. You go set up the machine, install the software, and then hook it into your ArcGIS Server. So Hopefully you've learned how to do Data Store now, and if you're installing anything else, you can go ahead and do that now as well. Okay, so in the next video, we are going to go through the big step. It's actually going to be a quick one, but federating ArcGIS Server and ArcGIS Portal together. So I'll see you when we get to that one. So yeah, see you in the next one. Cheers.